A single katana blade can take 3 months and hundreds of failures to create. Behind every line in its steel lies a brutal ordeal. 72 hours without sleep, feeding a furnace that devours tons of iron, sand, and charcoal, all for a few fragments of tamahagane chosen by the master's ear alone. Yet even then, the real trial has just begun. Why would generations risk everything for a sword that could shatter in seconds? This is where legend meets reality. What does it truly cost to forge perfection from raw earth and fire? Inside the Tatara, the atmosphere is relentless. Apprentices move in a steady rhythm, their bodies slick with sweat, eyes stinging from smoke. Every 10 minutes, a measured heap of pine charcoal is tossed into the glowing mouth of the furnace, followed by black iron sand in a precise cadence. The air pulses with the deep thump of the tenbin fuego, 2 great wooden bellows worked by foot, seesawing back and forth, never pausing. Each stroke forces air through the clay wall, feeding the fire to a searing 1,300 degrees Celsius. There is no rest. Teams of 4 to 6 rotate in and out, but the core crew, the master smelter and his closest deputies, remain on their feet for the entire 72 hours. Apprentices take the brunt of the night shifts, their legs pumping the bellows in the darkness, faces illuminated only by the furious orange glow. Sleep is a luxury none can afford. Even a moment's lapse could let the temperature drop, ruining days of effort. Meals are snatched in haste, rice balls eaten with hands blackened by ash. As the furnace consumes nearly 10 tons of sand and 12 tons of charcoal, the rhythm becomes hypnotic, almost ritualistic. Every charge, every stroke is timed and judged by the master's ear. The sound of the flame, the color of the sparks, the way the slag flows from the tap, all are clues to the hidden world inside the clay walls. Under this pressure, the crew's exhaustion deepens, blisters form, clothes soak through, and the air grows thick with heat and the metallic tang of iron. Yet the work cannot stop. The massive steel forming at the heart of the Tatara depends on the unbroken cadence, human endurance matched against the hunger of fire. When the Tatara finally surrenders its heart, the workshop falls silent. The clay walls are smashed open, and the kera, a massive irregular bloom of raw steel, emerges, still radiating heat. Now comes a moment that cannot be rushed or delegated. The master approaches, hammer in hand, eyes narrowed in concentration. Each blow splits the kera into rough chunks, exposing a cross-section of the metal's chaotic inner world. Veins of bright silvery steel mingled with brittle glassy iron. He listens closely as each fragment is struck. The ring of the hammer tells him what the eye cannot see. High-carbon tamahagane sings with a clear bell-like tone, a promise of sharpness and strength. Low-carbon pieces answer with a duller, muted sound, destined for the blade's core, or set aside for other uses. The master studies the fractured surfaces, searching for a fine, even grain, and the right balance between hardness and flexibility. Judgment is not measured by any instrument. It is knowledge carried in muscle memory and the senses, learned over decades at the forge. The difference between a perfect sword and a failed one can rest on the selection made in these quiet minutes. Only about 1/5 of the kera will meet the master's standards. The rest is too hard, too soft, or riddled with impurities. Each chosen piece is set aside with care, a future edge or spine waiting to be born. As the piles grow, the master's work becomes a form of silent conversation with the steel. He weighs each decision, knowing that every chosen fragment will shape the soul of the blade to come. The raw chaos of the furnace is transformed here, not by machines, but by the senses and judgment of a single human being. Heat, hammer, cut, fold. The workshop fills with the relentless music of steel on steel, a rhythm older than memory. The smith stands at the anvil, sweat streaking his brow, hands blackened and raw. Each billet of tamahagane is heated until it glows a fierce orange, then hammered flat with heavy measured strikes. Sparks burst and scatter with every blow, the sound echoing through the forge in a pattern as steady as a heartbeat. The bar is cut, stacked, and folded back on itself. Then again, heat, hammer, cut, fold. This cycle repeats dozens of times each day, the smith's arms aching, the air thick with the scent of hot iron and charcoal. There is no room for hesitation. The window for welding is narrow. Too cold, and the layers will not fuse. Too hot, and the steel burns away. Timing is everything. Each fold multiplies the layers, 2, 4, 8, 16, until the steel holds thousands of invisible strata. The master watches the color of the metal, listens to the ring of the hammer, and feels the resistance beneath each strike. Every movement is deliberate, every mistake paid for in lost hours and wasted steel. The repetition is brutal. Muscles tremble, calluses split, yet the work never pauses. The billet shrinks and grows denser, its surface rippling with the first hints of hada, the grain that will one day shimmer beneath the polish. In this crucible of fire and will, the raw chaos of tamahagane is slowly tamed, forged into something that remembers every blow. Heat, hammer, cut, fold, repeat. The folding of tamahagane is not a quest for mythical strength, but a battle against impurity and chaos. Each time the hot steel is folded and hammered, a thin layer of slag and trapped air is squeezed out. The master listens for the change in sound. A dull thud means slag remains. A clear ring means the steel is growing clean. At welding heat, oxygen reacts with sulfur and phosphorus, forming oxides that are pushed to the edges and hammered away. This is not endless purification. After the first 5 or 6 folds, most of the coarse slag is gone. Beyond that, folding becomes a matter of balance. Every red heat draws out a little more carbon, burned away by the fire. Too few folds, and the steel remains wild, hard but brittle, prone to shatter. Too many, and it grows soft, losing its edge and even tearing apart under the hammer. The smith's goal is not to multiply layers for the sake of legend. With each fold, the carbon diffuses more evenly, like salt kneaded into dough, blending hard and soft patches until the billet becomes uniform. By the 12th or 13th fold, the steel holds around 0.7 to 0.8% carbon, tough enough to withstand impact, hard enough to keep a razor edge. The hada, the flowing grain revealed later in the polish, is born from these countless layers, but its beauty is only a byproduct of necessity. The real victory lies in the master's judgment, knowing when to stop, when the steel is ready for the next ordeal. The billet, now dense and refined, rests on the anvil, a survivor of fire and force, carrying within it the memory of every strike. The billet, now dense with thousands of layers, is ready for its transformation into the blade's skeleton. The smith heats the refined steel until it glows a deep orange, then hammers it into a long, flat bar. Every strike is measured, each angle checked with a practiced eye. The goal is precision, a bar that is straight, even, and free of hidden flaws. Once satisfied, the smith folds the bar into a U-shaped channel. This is the sonobe, the outer shell that will become the katana's hard skin. The open channel is carefully aligned on the anvil. Into this cradle, the smith places a core of softer, low-carbon iron selected earlier for its flexibility. The contrast is deliberate. The outer shell will hold a razor edge, while the inner core will absorb shock and prevent breakage. The two pieces are joined with a dusting of straw ash, then brought to a searing forge weld temperature, often above 1,200 degrees Celsius. The smith moves quickly, working before the heat escapes. He hammers along the length of the bar, sealing the shell around the core. Each blow must be true. A misaligned strike could create a hidden seam or trap an air pocket, risking the entire blade. Periodically, the smith checks the alignment, sighting down the bar and tapping it with his hammer, listening for a clear, even ring. Any sign of unevenness means more work, more heat, more risk. Gradually, the two metals fuse into a single composite bar. The hard skin and soft core are now inseparable, locked together by force and fire. This engineered structure, created entirely by hand, will give the katana its legendary balance of sharpness and resilience. The bar, still rough and unfinished, holds the promise of a blade that can cut through armor, yet bend without breaking. The next ordeal awaits. The blade, now shaped and assembled, is coated in its clay jacket and left to dry. The forge is silent, except for the crackle of charcoal. Night falls. The master stands alone, watching the color of the steel as it heats, judging temperature not by instrument, but by the deep red and orange glow. This is the moment every smith dreads and lives for. One mistake now, and months of labor will shatter in seconds. He lifts the blade from the fire. The clay is dry, the steel at just the right heat, hot enough for the crystal structure inside to shift, but not so hot that the metal will blister or warp. There is no hesitation. In a single practiced motion, he plunges the blade edge first into the water. The sound is a violent hiss, a cloud of steam exploding upward. In that instant, the blade undergoes a transformation more severe than anything it has endured before. The thin clay along the edge allows heat to escape in a flash. The steel structure changes. Atoms snap into a new form called martensite. This makes the edge glass hard, able to hold a razor's bite. The thick clay on the spine slows the cooling, leaving the back of the blade tough and flexible, ferrite and pearlite, not martensite. The difference between these two zones is visible as the iconic Haman line, a boundary where hardness and softness meet. As the steel contracts, the sudden tension forces the blade to curve. This is not a shape hammered in by hand, but a curve born from the violence of the quench itself. The smith waits, breath held, listening for the telltale ping of a crack, proof that the blade has failed. Only silence answers. The blade has survived. It is now hard, sharp, and forever changed. A blade fresh from the quench is still rough, its spirit hardened, but its form hidden beneath a skin of black scale. Now the work passes to the togishi. He sits quietly, blade in hand, surrounded by a line of water stones, each with its own history, each chosen for a single purpose. For weeks, he will move the blade across these stones in slow, deliberate strokes. The first stone is coarse, often 800 or 1000 grit, its surface worn flat with care. This stone grinds away the hardened scale and shapes the blade's geometry, the kisaki tip, the ridgeline, the subtle curve. The togishi's eyes never leave the steel. He listens for the sound of the stone, feels the resistance through his fingertips. Each pass must be perfectly aligned. A mistake here could round the edge or blur the lines, erasing months of labor in a moment. The progression is ritualistic. After the first shaping, he moves to finer stones, uchigumori, hazuya, jizuya, each with a higher grit, each revealing more of the blade's true nature. The stones are soaked in water, their surfaces refreshed with gentle circular motions. With every change, the togishi inspects the blade under shifting light, searching for the first hints of hada, the layered grain forged by thousands of hammer strikes. The hamon, the line between hard and soft steel, begins to shimmer like mist at dawn. This is not just sharpening, it is a slow unveiling. The togishi's breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the strokes. Hours stretch into days, days into weeks. The blade is polished on stones as fine as 12,000 or even 30,000 grit, until its surface is a mirror, flawless and cold. Through this meditative work, the togishi brings out every hidden pattern, every subtle wave in the steel. The edge is refined until it can split a single hair. The geometry is set, curves, angles, the faintest dips and rises, so that the blade will fit perfectly with its future fittings. In these weeks, the sword's true face is revealed, not by force, but by patience and touch. It is the quietest part of the process, and perhaps the most profound. While the blade rests in the hands of the togishi, other masters begin their own quiet rituals. In a nearby workshop, the habaki maker works with copper and brass, shaping the collar that will lock the blade to the scabbard. This small fitting must be perfect. If it is too tight, the sword cannot be drawn. If it is too loose, it rattles, betraying the smith's devotion. The craftsman files and polishes the metal, testing the fit by touch alone, his eyes trained by decades of practice. Across the courtyard, the sayashi carves the scabbard from blocks of seasoned magnolia. He splits the wood, hollows it with delicate chisels, then presses the blade's outline into the grain. The fit is so precise that the katana can rest inside for centuries without warping or rust. The sayashi layers lacquer, letting each coat cure for days, then polishes the surface to a deep, flawless sheen. Patterns and family crests are sometimes inlaid by hand, each detail a mark of respect for the sword spirit. Meanwhile, the Tiyasuka Maki prepares the handle. He selects strips of samagawa, ray skin, stretching and pressing them over the wooden core. Silk or cotton cord is wrapped in a precise diamond-patterned weave. Each turn of the cord must be even, each knot invisible, so the grip will not slip in battle or ceremony. The suba, the guard, is chosen for balance and beauty, often forged by yet another specialist. It is a silent collaboration, each part crafted in parallel, each artisan trusting the others to match their level of care. These crafts converge in the final assembly. The blade, now polished to a mirror shine, slides into its scabbard. The habaki clicks into place. The handle is fitted, the guard secured. The sword is not only sharp, but whole, an embodiment of months of labor and the hands of many. In this moment, the katana ceases to be a tool and becomes a legacy. Each master leaves a trace, invisible to the eye, but felt in the soul of the blade. The work is finished, but the story endures, proof that perfection is not the act of one, but the devotion of many. If you believe in the power of true craftsmanship, let your voice join theirs. What part of this journey spoke to you most? Today, fewer than a dozen Japanese smiths still master every stage of traditional katana forging. Each blade is a defiant answer to mass production. In an age defined by speed and shortcuts, the katana stands as proof that true excellence demands time, discipline, and humility. That lesson endures. What we create reflects the spirit we bring. What will your craft reveal about you? Share your thoughts below.